too, so back at it. I think I figured out my sound issue, so let me know what y'all thinking, what y'all come up with, and if you can see or hear or not. Again, still a work in progress. I'm on my AirPods today, so bear with me. I got the motor pulled out today, just kind of show y'all what it looks like out the car, how to look at it, and what you really need to be looking for. But also, I think the topic of this video today is my power goals, my build overall, and kind of why I chose what I chose to go inside of this build versus what's common and what's not common. All right. So first off, again, if you don't know, most people know LS motors are a hot commodity at this point. Uh, it's a LQ4, also related to LS motors. I'll just kind of go around first, and then we'll kick it off. So again, I got the block here in Colorado for about I think $500. It was bare. When I say the block, right? So this is the block. Everything else was not here. Uh, sorry, I'm on this chair, but again, just this. This is the block. Um, I got it. Really already had my plan in motion. Just didn't know how deep I wanted to get into it just yet. But I just kind of honestly just dove off into it. All right. Kicking it off. Block came with pistons, crank, and that's it. Again, all that stuff's in that box right there. Well, I'm not gonna move it out today, but it's all there, cleaned up. Don't really plan on taking it back out until I'm ready to put it in the motor. All right, moving right along. I then found a buddy of mine who has recently moved, but got 317 heads, which basically is all stock. So basically, all you see today, besides this, of course, and these, is all stock. All right. Now, if you don't know, if you know me, like last video, if you don't know what those two boxes is, and if you can't tell these forward-facing headers, what that leads to by now, that'll be a turbo build. All right. I'm going twin turbos. Why? Because I don't know. I got them at a good price, and I just feel like being a little different. Granted, I won't be the first one. Not saying that at all. But just I just thought two would be better than one in this build. So the headers and the turbos came together as a set. But getting back to the heads, right? Again, I haven't touched anything on the heads. I was gonna go all out and go LS3 and port and polish and whatever. But as this project starts to add up in money, it's just not cost effective for me right now. My plan is right now just to get it stock as possible, get it back together as cheap as possible, and honest to God, just send it, right? But I want to take all the precautions that I can, and I want to do it the right way, right? So, with that being said, I only had the heads and the block. No accessories, as you see. I didn't even have this timing chain cover here. I didn't have this valley cover here, and I definitely didn't have an intake. And again, if we are really close to me, I've sent you pictures of these things as I've got them. I've probably even asked you for your advice on what to get and what not to get, because I'm a firm believer of not spending money twice. All right, I don't want to spend money twice. I don't want to spend money that I don't have to spend, and I damn sure want to buy it for as cheap as I can. All right, not that I'm being cheap. It's just no point in me going brand new everything when I don't have to. All right. So in that case, you probably see that my AC compressor is not the best condition. My pulleys and my idles are not in the best condition. All that kind of stuff can be changed out, right? But my biggest concern, which I have this LS1 intake, got it pretty cheap, $80 from a guy who was just sitting in the garage. But it's a plain intake, which means no fuel rails, no injectors, no throttle body, just the intake. That's it, right? Got it for $80, like I said. Um, but when I put that intake on, I had clearance issues for the throttle body. Again, it was just so this is the throttle body. It was just be an intake, but that intake sat about right here, which most people they do. They cut off this idler right here and basically just cut it right here and relocate it to about right here. All right. That little swap is about, I think, 150, 160 bucks. I think I looked at it. Um, but I'm gonna kind of go under here. All right. So as you can tell, the crank has been taken out. There's no camshaft. None of this stuff is in here. So don't be fooled and think that this is put together because it's not. I only put it together to see what it looked like. It's kind of mock up. See what else I needed to buy. See kind of the location of things and how it would kind of look when I set it off into the car. All right. But again, all this stuff that you see on the outside can be upgraded at a later time. Most importantly about this, I want to get the internals set in and do everything the proper way there. I don't know if I'm gonna do it myself or I'll take it to the machine shop just yet. But well, I'll say about 60, 70% of this motor is pretty much done. All right. Besides, again, torquing the screws and the bolts, making sure my clearances are right, cleaning everything up. But as far as assembly wise, it's already here to go. All right. I'll show you the turbos if I can get them out. This box is pretty destroyed, so it shouldn't be too bad. These are 66 millimeter turbos. Again, sponsored by Anton Hawthorne. So these, I'm still learning all this stuff, so bear with me. This is the cold side. This is the cold side. And this is the hot side. Hot side goes, again, correct me if I'm wrong, so don't criticize me, all right? Hot side will go facing the motor. And then the cold side will go into the intercooler, which will be in the front of the car. All right. Again, still learning. Don't know if I said it right, but the best I got right now. Anyway, getting further into power goals, right? So power goals, I originally, man, I wanted to do about 500, 600 street power, right? Which is not hard at all, right? Especially with an LS swap, not hard to do, period. I could have done it in A, which is naturally aspirated, on just a good cam, some good heads, and run it, honestly. But again, if you know me, I got to be difficult and a little more into it than that. So my original plan was to go 383 stroker. I went from 380 stroker. Come on, Mar. I went from 383 stroker to again LS to I wanted LS3, but just the 6.2s, just they're harder to find. They're harder to find. They're more expensive. So with that being said, start there. With that being said, I just went for, again, something a little cheaper, something a little more pocket friendly, and something that I could put together kind of somewhat easily done and still knew what I was putting into the motor versus just trusting somebody's word and just throwing it into the car and then having problems down the road. All right. So my original plan was to take everything to Getty's, uh, drop it off, pay him a shit ton of money, and then come back and pick it up and put it into the car. All right. That shit is expensive as hell. All right. Uh, Nothing against Getty's. Love the guy. Does great work. Just not proficient for my pockets at this point, honestly. So, uh, talking to a couple buddies of mine who builds cars and build motors and been doing this thing for a while, they're like, man, just do it yourself. Right. So, to be completely honest, a lot of the stuff that I've done and do just scared me, right? I don't want to put this motor in this car thinking it's ready, and then the first time I go to smash it, it falls on the ground, right? So just all the fears and scares that are there, still there, honestly, but just kind of more precautions. Um, but getting off subject. So I went from taking everything to the machine shop to literally hand and bolting everything myself. All right, asking a ton of questions, doing a ton of research. YouTube honestly is your best friend. Again, I know a lot of people into this car game, and they've been doing it for a while now, so they're always helpful. I'll shoot names out probably in another video, but I've had a ton of help. Right, if I haven't had anything else, help is all I had. All right. So with that being said, I went from typical 4 or 500 street build, which on that motor, well, on that build and aspect, I was going LSA. All right, a lot of people thought I was crazy. LSA swaps expensive, blah 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 blah. But I got mine for fairly cheap. I just didn't have the lid and a lot of stuff. Again, if you're really close to me, you already knew this. But even ported everything that I needed to port, upgrading everything. I was gonna be about 10 grand into the LSA swap, which again isn't feasible for just maxing out then. Maybe 600, 700. Well, definitely six, but high sevens, right? Which is still a lot of power. Don't get me wrong. Just once you max out in the LSA, that's it. You got to go turbo. So most of the guys that I knew that had the LSAs, they were going turbos. Most of the guys that had the turbos, they were going twin turbos. So I'm like, let me just cut to the chase. I sold my LSA local, and then I bought my twin turbos. All right. So that's the reason why I went twins. One, because I wanted that power band to where I could turn it down, and then when I wanted more power, I could just turn it up. All right. Now, granted, there's pros and cons to turbos versus LSAs, torque, and all that kind of stuff. But again, for the longevity of the project, it's just much easier to either go Pro Charger, which I thought about, or turbos. Granted, turbos a little more fab work to do versus the Pro Charger, and a lot more spin up than a Pro Charger. But again, I can always turn it down and I can always stall it up. All right, so those 66 millimeter VS Racing, all billet by the way, twin turbos, are rated at about 750 a piece. That's max, right? So I can always, at a minimum, 1450, 1500, right? Well, excuse me, at a max. But I can always turn that down, which I don't plan on putting 14, 1500 to the wheel. That's a lot of money. All right. Again, my roughly goal that I'll be so happy if I achieve will be around 800, 800 or a little over, honestly. Not terrible, right? Not anything crazy, but it's not a lot of 800 horsepower Monte Carlos just riding around the street. It's just not. Or at least I haven't seen any, right? So that kind of got me interested in, hey, let's do it. All right. I already kind of knew and faced the problem that my biggest hurdle would be the fab work. All right. Also, I thought it would be more expensive than I actually paid, which is probably a good thing for me. All right. So again, I got maybe maybe a total like 3 grand, if that, into this project so far. Um, so that's turbos, that's motor, that's the intake, everything that I showed you, a little under 3 grand. Right? If I really just wanted to just say fuck it and just put it all back stock, excluding the intake, and just run it, I probably could have been about 1,500 to 2 grand. Which some of you are like, oh, we just could have bought one, just run it for that much. Yeah, I could have, but I wouldn't have known what was in it. I would have known the condition. I would have still had to eventually go through it anyway. So it was just more beneficial for me learning to, and then just kind of putting my hands on everything that I wanted, just putting it piece by piece. All right. So I went 800 horsepower from the motor, or I'm asking 800 from this motor, which is not terrible. I also went T56 6 speed out of a O2 WS6, which is a Trans Am. A lot of people ask me why. Honestly, I've always wanted to build a Monte Carlo, and when that build happened, I wanted to be a 6 speed. Just personal preference, honestly. Uh, mm, a lot of people, excuse me, ask me why 6 speed versus a 6L80 or 4L60 or a turbo 400 or whatever the case may be. Again, I just personal preference the T56. It's a lot more fun. Get more drivability out of it. I think the only issue, or the biggest issue, is it holding the 800. All right. A lot of forums, a lot of pages, a lot of Facebook pages. Uh, that's like their biggest concern. Once the car put out about 750, 800 plus, the trans was the first thing to go. Why? I heard it was the synchros and whatever internals inside. Sure, you could change it out for level 3 stuff, which is most of it is just stronger bronze, whatever internals. And some of the people who are really into this life, they go Viper stuff, right? So like literally internals from a Viper transmission into this T56 transmission. And of course, you got LT1s, you got LS1s, and again, Viper. But a lot of this stuff is just plug and play and then seeing what you want to get out of it and how much money you want to spend, right? Which again, not I'm not real cheap, but I'm again not very expensive either. So feasible pockets, right? So this is a feasible bill for somebody on a good income, I guess. I'm not gonna say I'm wealthy. I'm not gonna say I'm broke, but I managed my money very well. I can always be better, so don't knock me there. But I find myself, and my wife hates me for this, but I find myself just collecting parts until I got everything that I wanted. Right. So again, if you know me, I got the car literally from a trade from my four wheeler, which I think I mentioned in the last video. I think I mentioned I got the 4.9 inch. I paid $200 or $300 for that. I told you I got into the motor, but as you can tell, everything. Sorry, everything is just kind of like laying around. Like it's shit everywhere. Uh, I just I didn't get it. So a lot of what's going on this camera? Oh, so a lot of the time, I just find myself just looking online, seeing what I can grab. Uh, honest to God, truth, just lowballing a lot of people and seeing how quick I can put this thing together. All right, so we got the LS1, well, LQ4, the T56, the 4.9 inch. Uh, but again, all parts, right? Even with the T56, I don't have the clutch, I don't have the bell housing. I got to change out the input shaft. I got to change out some other stuff on that. So it's all, again, not anything that you're just going to go buy and just put together. Camera's acting real stupid. But it's a progress, right? It's a process, excuse me. This thing is acting real dumb. Sorry, y'all. But anyway, I'm just gonna roll it, right? Uh, I'll just roll it like that. But everything that I mentioned I've had the car for about a year. Uh, I'm probably slowly approaching a year and a half. But any real builder or you know car enthusiast know, unless you got the money, nothing like this happens overnight, right? So with that being said, I'm just taking my time, doing research after research after research, and then just buying stuff that makes sense, that's going to steadily give me progression, right? Some I know sometimes it seems like, oh, I'm doing all this for nothing, I'm not getting nowhere. This car hasn't moved in months, and it just feels like it'll never be done, right? I've been there, done that. Honestly, feel that way now. But truth be told, if you buy stuff little by little, uh, you'll always see progression. I'm not saying that you won't lose hindsight, but you'll always see some kind of progression, all right? So I literally think I got the big parts first. I think the first thing I got was the motor. Then I got the roof. Then I got the red. Then I just started putting pieces together on the motor. All right. And then I got the transmission. I mean, not transmission, but then I got the turbo. Well, let me rephrase that. I got the motor first, then the trans, then the roof, then the rear end, and somewhere in there I got the turbos from Antoine. All right. But again, piecing it together, most of the stuff has been out of state. So again, that's another issue for something. I hate waiting on stuff. I want to go pick it up, pay for it, bring it back. A lot of this stuff is coming from out of state. Only thing that did not come from out of state was everything on the motor and the rear end. Everything else you see has come from out of state. All right. So a lot of people ask me, well, you're gonna put all this money into the motor transmission, but what you gonna do, as far as field management, as far as, you run E85, you wanna run like, are you gonna race it? Or are you just gonna be a street car? Or are you just gonna be like a show car? Uh, Again, anybody who knows me, I want the best of both worlds. I can never just settle for one thing. I gotta have it both. I don't want to be. I don't want to have to choose. So yeah, I'm still contemplating on wheel choice, honestly, which I might do a video on that as well. Uh, but right now, the setup is going to be 26 by 9 in the front and 26 by 12 in the rear. No 26 by 12 would not fit in the rear. So I have to cut that rear end a lot. All right. Which another issue is finding people to even do this stuff. Because some of these people charge, hell, starting out at 6, 7 grand just to even take you on your car. Which it runs, right? I don't mind it going nowhere else. But as you can see, it's bare metal. I have to put this car in primer first before I even move it out of the garage. And as you can tell, it's raining in Colorado right now. So like that's another problem. So weather can be a contributing factor uh, when things like this. But for the most part, it really just again pacing yourself and seeing what's more important than other things, which is what I had to learn the hard way. So I think right now I'm getting the bigger portions of the motor, transmission, rear end done, so I can prepare when it does come time for me to put this stuff together on the car. It's a smooth transition. So for instance, I got the motor, take the existing motor out. I got the trans, take the existing trans out. The rear end, I don't want to touch the rear end until I get my wheels in place. All right. Now, wheel choice again, for my taste, I'll say I'm gonna spend about literally anywhere from about 5 grand till about 7,500, and that's wheels and tires. All right. That's just wheels and tires getting them here. All right. That's not putting them on the rear end and getting the rear end cutting for the wheels. All right. Because you got to think, right? So that 26 by 12 is going to probably stick out to about right there. Yeah. If not, a little further out. So everything that sticks out, I want it to be tucked under, which again, have to go in the trunk, have to cut most of that stuff out. And if any of you all follow CJ on 32s, he's doing a Cutlass kind of similar what I'm building. So don't think I'm trying to compete with him at all. I do not have that man's money. I did not count that man's pockets. But just know that process is true. All right. There's no basically cutting no shortcuts around it. It's true for everything. Everything has to be measured. Everything has to be cut once, measured 3 and 4, 100 times before you start cutting on this car. Because once you cut it, yeah, you could metal fab it back, but why cut more than once and just do it right the first time versus fucking shit up, putting in more metal work, and then having to cut it again. It's then you lose integrity of the frame, right? So I don't want to jeopardize that. So I got a couple guys, one specifically or two specifically in Denver. They specialize in lowering trucks, so laying beds on the frame and all that kind of stuff. So they know exactly kind of what I'm looking for. Only issue is I have to get the car to them. So I'll cross that bridge when I cross it. But needless to say, I got a couple things working. All right. So uh, here in a few, I'll probably ask the viewers or a couple buddies of mine, which I've already probably been asking you, my wheel selection, because just like I was just telling Kales earlier, hey man, wheel selection can literally make or break a build to me. You can have all this money into paint, money into a motor, transmission, and interior, and then you have a shitty wheel selection, and it's just to me like that's the car. It's like an eyesore. Could have done better. To me, you rushed it. That's how I feel. You rushed it. So I mean, if you rushed it, it definitely tells. And people, and again, that maybe just be me. Uh, but I think the wheel selection that I'm kind of in the midst of choosing, uh, I can definitely tell that I have a pattern or a taste or selection wheel or select wheel. So I think the real big concern on that will be uh, what brand I want to go with. So of course there's Corleone Forge, there's a Monte out there, Asante. Haven't really found any Asante wheels. But definitely my top three would probably be MTW, Coleon Forge, and probably Amani, honestly. Just because my selection and the way how big I want this wheel in the back, they can accommodate with that for me, like no problem. So uh, yeah, that's my top three. Uh, but for the most part, they're all around the same price. So that's why I said it boils down to brand for me. So not being picky, but it really depends on who gives me the better price. All right, what are you doing? I've had some people give me the same price. I've had my dealer guys call, give them a different price. So really, just depends on when I'm ready, I guess, to pull the trigger, honestly. So yeah, that's pretty much the car in itself. Uh, Again, if you got any questions, man, by all means, hit me up. You got my number, text me. I'm sure I'll be more involved and more detailed in some of these videos. I'm gonna figure out how this iPhone works and maybe get another one because it's acting up. But for the most part, that's really all I got to talk about today. Again, just kind of a quick recap though. I'm going. My goal is 800 horsepower. All right, goal 800. Started from an LQ4, which LQ4s can be found in vans, 2500s, not diesels. Um, ooh, Astro vans, and then LQ4 is gonna be mostly a truck motor, which is why you see the truck style um, accessories. Which truck style you can tell because they're usually kind of higher. So this is higher. Most you see the alternate be kind of over here, and then probably the AC unit to be over here. Those are all conversions, right? But that's why I kind of went with that. It's an iron block. It's going to hold a lot better. Um, Everything you see here is kind of in the budget range. Besides the intake and throttle body is about $1,000. It's probably the most expensive thing on the goddamn motor right now, honestly. Uh, but again, I don't have injectors. I don't have uh, which injectors will go here, by the way. Injectors. I don't have anything really just to crank this motor up yet. So I still got a long way to go. But again, motor, trans in that box right there. Internals basically in that box. Turbos, rear end, um, 800 horsepower, 6 speed. Hopefully I can dial this thing in to where I don't fuck this transmission up right off the bat. Um, and wheel choice, right? So those are like the key components to a major build, right? Well, you don't want to skimp on any of those pieces because if you do, you're going to end up paying for it in the background. All right. So definitely take the time out, do your research, put your money where you need to be, and then just make it work, man. But if you could tell, a lot of the stuff, again, it's nothing that's impossible. It just come down to preference. I could have got this motor a lot cheaper. I could have got the trans a lot cheaper. I could have won a different trans, right? But again, most of this build is a documentary. I'm not building it for nobody's preference but my own. I want it how I want it, and if I can't get it how I want it, then I'll cross that bridge when it comes. And I think that's really the basis of this bill. I'm not doing this for, the fame and the fortune. I'm doing it because when I crank that motherfucker up, it's what I wanted and it's how I wanted it. Period. Right? Even from the interior, even from, the interior color touches that I've chosen, even from the roof that I chose, right? Which it's a common roof, but again, a lot of this stuff is stuff that I've never done before. But most of this time, it's things that we like, things that we want to do. You gotta jump out there on faith, man. Jump out there and just get it done. And hell, a lot of this stuff I'm getting for cheaper because I know how to do it. So, for instance, the painting body, probably what I've done already would probably cost a lot of you all a couple grand, right? But I sit right here in my garage and I do it in my spare time, all right? It's not perfect right now, but before you see it in paint, it will be perfect, all right? But painting body in itself is a whole other venture for some people when I can just do it in my spare time. All right. So again, any questions, man, by all means, hit me up. I probably end up doing like a Facebook Live sometime tonight. I'm gonna try to be more consistent, man. But just do understand, I do have a newborn, and I do have a family. I'm only doing this for entertainment purposes. I'm not doing this for no money. I'm not doing it for again, fame and the glory. It's just putting information out to the public. All right. Uh, Other than that, man, again, man, YouTube be smooth. Again, hit me if you got any questions. 1-1.